Hello everyone, welcome to Hopeful Moments 1. Today, we will listen to a story about the issues of poor communication, lack of cooperation, and self-permitted behavior in the workplace. Today's story will take you through an unexpected situation when Patricia not only failed to communicate directly with the main character about the issue but also complained to the supervisor, resulting in a critical email directed at the main character. This created a result completely opposite to the main character's efforts and made things much more tense than originally anticipated. If you find this story interesting and filled with meaningful lessons, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more valuable insights. Karen's self-permitted behavior got me into trouble. I hate people with a self-permitted attitude. I understand that some people have bad days and end up hurting those around them, but sometimes things go too far, and this is one of those times, so get ready because this story is quite long. I am a night shift security guard working at a rather special location, where there are two buildings owned by our client, just about 5 minutes apart by car, or even less if you factor in the quick commute time. This is not your ordinary security job. Our client is a storage and shipping company that rents out space in these buildings, which are actually large warehouses, for well-known luxury brands. However, I say well-known because, honestly, before working here, I had never heard of these brands, even though they are all renowned names in the fashion and high-end goods industry. Every item in these warehouses is worth a fortune, with products sometimes costing thousands of dollars, making the working environment here quite different and requiring a high level of security and responsibility. The security shifts are organized systematically to ensure that everything is tightly controlled throughout the night. Each building has a fixed guard responsible for monitoring and ensuring the safety of that area. However, to ensure smooth operations, we have a mobile guard who moves between the buildings as necessary. The role of the mobile guard is extremely important. We are not only responsible for taking over shifts from colleagues when they need a break but also for ensuring security checkpoints are covered while the fixed guard is carrying out their duties. This is especially crucial when emergencies or unexpected incidents occur that require the immediate presence of a mobile guard. Not only that, one of the duties we have to handle frequently is supervising vehicles. We are responsible for getting trucks out of the parking lot if they are parked incorrectly or have no legitimate reason to be there. This is an essential task to ensure that the space around the buildings remains clean and safe. However, there's one particular aspect of the mobile security job that I must mention, which is that we have to use our own cars to travel between the buildings. This makes the job even harder, as we not only have to ensure the safety of the area but also endure the costs of fuel and wear and tear on our vehicles without any compensation. This is an important factor that I will touch on later, as it affects the effectiveness and morale of mobile guards over the long term. With all this information, here's the story. I have been working at this location for nearly 2 years, and during that time, I became quite familiar with the work processes and what can and can't be done, especially during the night shifts. Night shifts are inherently special and can sometimes be more stressful than day shifts because everything happens in quiet, low-light conditions, making people feel tense and tired. Over time, I also learned how the company operates and what tasks I need to complete during each shift. One important factor affecting our work is the change in workload during peak seasons, especially from Thanksgiving to Christmas. This is when consumer demand increases dramatically, prompting big brands to ramp up their shipping and storage operations. As a result, our client, a company that provides storage and shipping services to luxury brands, decided to hire more seasonal workers to meet the growing demand. This not only created a huge workload for the security team but also led to the deployment of more guards to handle emergencies, thefts, or unexpected incidents. With more guards, our tasks became more distributed, and instead of one guard per building, now there would be 2 guards per building, one fixed and the other serving as the mobile guard. These changes helped reduce the workload for each guard, but it also meant that the company had to ensure all guards could coordinate and assist each other effectively throughout the shift. Mobile guards are responsible for moving flexibly between the buildings, taking over shifts, checking important security points, and addressing any emergencies that arise during the shift. there is frequently a mobile guard moving back and forth between the buildings, which not only helps secure the company but also provides peace of mind to other employees, as our presence can quickly address any issues that come up during work. In my first year working here, I encountered quite a unique situation. One of the seasonal guards decided to stay on after the peak season ended. This woman, whom we will call Patricia, became quite a prominent figure in the security team. She was friendly, approachable, and outgoing, always creating a fun and relaxed atmosphere for those around her. However, alongside her openness and approachability, Patricia had some characteristics that made her quite blunt and sometimes a little too much, in a way that some people might not appreciate. Patricia had a very laid-back and approachable lifestyle. She wasn't shy about joking around with everyone around her, sometimes even with herself, which made the workplace environment feel lighter and less stressful. She also loved poking fun at things with sarcastic jokes, and I have to admit that although her humor could be sharp at times, it made me feel more at ease and relaxed. Patricia's jokes weren't mean-spirited, they were mostly just to ease the tension at work, something that I didn't really mind because her style of humor was quite similar to mine, and at times, it even helped me connect with others in the company. One of Patricia's most notable traits is her love for hugging others, especially when she feels close to someone. This is a habit that I'm not particularly fond of, as I'm not someone who enjoys being touched. However, with Patricia, I felt a genuine sense of friendliness and kindness. She isn't someone who abuses hugs but only gives them when she feels truly affectionate and without any awkwardness. Although I don't usually express emotions or like physical contact, with Patricia, I could open up a little more. Perhaps it's because she's always kind, ready to listen, and makes people feel comfortable, which made me less concerned about it. However, I also realized that despite Patricia bringing a joyful and open atmosphere, she wasn't always predictable and could sometimes be very blunt, with actions that made others reconsider. Even though she wasn't malicious, her bluntness could sometimes cause small conflicts at work, especially when she didn't hesitate to express her opinions directly. Still, I saw Patricia as a good and valuable person in the security team, even if she wasn't always easy to understand. But this is when Patricia's self-permission started to become more apparent, and I realized that it wasn't just a habit she had, but a deep part of her personality that impacted not only her but also the overall work environment. As I worked with her, I began to notice that Patricia had a tendency to become the queen of drama, and I say this literally because everything with her could turn into a long, emotional story. The first thing I began to clearly notice was that Patricia often complained about the other security guards. She didn't hesitate to criticize and talk about their shortcomings, sometimes even when they weren't present. While I understand that work can sometimes cause conflicts, Patricia had a tendency to bring personal issues into the workplace and turn them into long conversations. This didn't just lower the sense of camaraderie in the workplace but also made those around her uncomfortable, especially when her complaints never really got addressed but just made everything more tense. Aside from complaining about her colleagues, Patricia's living situation was another topic she constantly brought up to vent. True, her living conditions weren't ideal, and I could understand her feelings of difficulty in her current circumstances. However, I also couldn't help but feel that she sometimes made her problems more severe than they needed to be. In fact, who among us doesn't face difficulties in today's world? The struggles of each person aren't always the same, but it seemed like Patricia couldn't stop blaming her situation and personal difficulties, preventing her from fully focusing on her work and relationships with her colleagues. These issues became more apparent over time, and eventually, everything reached a boiling point last night when I realized how deeply her self-permission had seeped into her behavior and how it was affecting everyone around her. She felt entitled not only to complain about things she didn't like but also to demand attention and help from others without needing to have a legitimate reason. It seemed as though she thought everyone around her should always understand and agree with the difficulties she faced, without caring about how others felt. Patricia's self-permission wasn't just shown in her constant complaining, but also in how she demanded attention and support without offering any help in return. Throughout my time working with her, I saw that she always had demands and requests without considering the struggles of those around her, and this gradually made me feel tired and irritated. Her inability to recognize her self-permission became a major hindrance to the cooperation and team spirit we needed in our work. Remember when I mentioned that mobile guards aren't compensated for using their own cars? Well, this is the key point I want to highlight because it's not just a minor issue, but one of the critical factors in my job. The financial issue and the lack of reimbursement made it impossible for me to accept using my personal vehicle for work without fair compensation. Simply put, I couldn't afford to work without reimbursement for using my car, especially when fuel costs and wear and tear on the vehicle were unavoidable factors. This not only affected my income but also added pressure to maintain my means of transportation during work. For this reason, when I was assigned to be a mobile guard, I always tried to minimize my travel time. I knew that if I moved too much between buildings, the costs would gradually become a burden. In fact, I chose to change buildings every 2 or 3 hours, instead of every hour like other mobile guards. This was a strategic adjustment on my part to avoid excessive back and forth, helping to minimize travel time and costs. This decision not only helped me save fuel but also allowed me to maintain my focus at work, avoiding the need to move constantly without enough time to complete other tasks. However, last night, I had to do something I had never done before. I decided to split my shift, half at one building and half at the other. This was a decision I didn't make lightly, because in my job, splitting time between 2 buildings isn't the usual approach and could make it difficult for me to keep track of tasks. But in the situation last night, I felt it was the most reasonable solution for me to complete my work efficiently. This decision wasn't a random choice, it was the result of my careful analysis of the situation, noticing that the work at each building had different requirements and busyness levels during the night shift. The first building had almost no one during my shift, so I could spend more time checking security points and completing necessary tasks without interruption. Meanwhile, the second building had a group of workers staying until the end of my shift, so I decided to move there around the middle of my shift to support them and ensure everything went smoothly when they finished their work and prepared for the next shift. Although I know this isn't a traditional approach and could be seen as risky, I assessed the situation and believed it was the optimal solution, not only saving me travel time but also ensuring that the work would still be carried out fully and efficiently. However, I also understood that this change could cause some issues or conflicts with my colleagues, as some might not understand the reasoning behind my decision or might think I was trying to avoid my duties by splitting the shifts like this. But given everything that had happened before and the work situation at that time, I felt this decision was the most reasonable one. When I say that work factors and the client's schedule had a significant impact on my decision, I want to clarify that I didn't make this decision arbitrarily but based on a very specific analysis of the actual work. The way the client arranged their schedule was a key factor that led me to adjust my working approach. The first building, according to our schedule, was completely empty throughout my shift, with no one coming or going. This meant that the security tasks there would be less busy, and my work could be done with fewer complexities. However, I also noticed that no one would arrive to work until an hour after my shift ended, which created an opportunity for me to use my time more effectively. On the other hand, at the second building, the workers would finish their shift about halfway through mine. That was when I might need to be there to support the shift handover between teams. This handover needed to be done quickly and effectively, so having a mobile guard there was essential to avoid disrupting the workflow. Moreover, the next shift began right after ours ended, so my support would ensure that the new workers could arrive on time and work continued smoothly. Given this situation, I realized that splitting my shift into 2 distinct parts was the most sensible solution. I decided to spend half my night shift at the first building. This allowed me to help the guard there complete necessary tasks without interruption or dealing with too many unforeseen factors. Once the work at the first building was finished, I would move to the second building in the middle of my shift to assist with the worker handover and help ensure everything went smoothly when the next shift came in. I believe this decision not only optimized my time but also improved overall work efficiency. Splitting my time between 2 buildings wasn't just a strategy to reduce wasted time but also helped me complete my tasks better while ensuring that all requests from other guards were quickly addressed. Everything I did stemmed from a clear understanding of the role of a mobile guard in this work system. The purpose of being a mobile guard is to ensure that all activities within the company proceed continuously without interruption. A mobile guard isn't just someone who moves between buildings but is also responsible for supporting other colleagues in every situation. That's why being able to use the radio to request assistance is an important part of our job. This helps create a continuous support system, and in every situation, I am always ready to assist my colleagues when they need it. That's why we have radios, a necessary tool that keeps mobile guards in contact and ready to provide support at all times. Radios are not only a communication device but also a means to maintain flexibility and quick responses in the job, ensuring that any urgent requests are addressed in a timely manner. When I'm in one building but a colleague in another needs help, I can easily convey information and provide immediate support, which is critical in a fast-paced work environment like security. Guess who was at the second building? If you guessed Patricia, you're right. To be fair, I made a pretty big mistake. I didn't inform her of my plan beforehand. However, that was the limit of my tolerance with Patricia on this matter because this is what happened. About an hour into my shift, she called over the radio asking me when I would be switching buildings. I informed her that I would head over halfway through my shift, unless she needed me before, and even directly asked if she needed me right then. She seemed a bit frustrated when she said, "No, I just want clarification and communication," and that was it. Or so I thought. Not once in the next 3 hours did she ask for help over the radio. Not once. When I finally arrived at her building, I went in and greeted her, feeling cheerier than usual because I prefer working with her than the other guard on duty at that time, but she reprimanded me with, "How could you think it's acceptable to be in an empty building all night?" And I had to ask someone else to cover my shift so I could go to the bathroom and get ice. My mood dropped from 100 to 0 immediately, and I coldly reminded her that I had told her to call if she needed anything, and that was the point of the mobile guard role. I even explained that I had intentionally split my shift to help at her building to assist with the worker handover when they finished and ensure a smooth transition for the morning shift. She completely disagreed. She deliberately ignored me throughout the night, and shortly after I finished my shift, I received an email from the supervisor sent to all guards saying that mobile guards should not spend most of their time in empty buildings, as this is unfair to the guards in occupied buildings. There it was. Patricia complained about my one mistake to the supervisor because she was too self-entitled to use the radio for 5 seconds to ask for help once. I could say a lot of unpleasant things about her, but I think the name Patricia says it all. Even more than Karen. From this story, we can learn an important lesson about planning and flexibility at work. Analyzing the factors affecting the job, such as the client's schedule and the characteristics of each area, help the main character make a reasonable and effective decision. The ability to adjust and optimize work based on the actual situation is the key factor in completing tasks efficiently while minimizing wasted time and strengthening cooperation among colleagues. This also highlights that in a work environment, communication and mutual support are essential factors for achieving high work efficiency. The radio, as an important tool, not only helps maintain contact but also enables mobile guards to support their colleagues when needed, no matter where they are. The story also points out that being proactive in assisting colleagues and responding flexibly to situations is crucial to ensuring that work is not disrupted and that all processes run smoothly. Maintaining a proactive attitude and analyzing situations logically, as demonstrated, should be complemented by improving communication and coordination with colleagues, especially when responding to requests for timely support. A clear understanding of one's role and responsibilities will always help achieve high work efficiency and avoid unnecessary stressful situations. Furthermore, proactively learning and improving communication skills with colleagues, as shown by the use of the radio, is an important factor in creating a more collaborative and effective work environment.